Hey guys, happy new moon. I'm happy to be here sharing this lunar report with you guys for the new moon in Leo. Go ahead and pick your pile, and whenever you're ready, the timestamp is down below. See you there. So whenever the moon is new, it's always going to be in the part of the sky wherever the sun is. So right now the sun is in Leo, and so the new moon will be in Leo because the moon is again in the same part of the sky that the sun is. When the moon is full, it is on the opposite side of wherever the sun is, and so it'll be in the opposite sign. The full moon that happens during Leo season will always be in Aquarius because Aquarius is the opposing sign to Leo. Now, one single moon cycle represents the time it takes for the moon to go from new and it grows into full, and then it grows back down to a new moon to start a new cycle. But this reading is about how you can take advantage of the moon's energy in Leo, basically meaning as the moon returns back to the sign Leo as through the next few months until the moon is then full in Leo. So right now, again, during Leo season, the moon is new in Leo, but we won't see a full moon in Leo until Aquarius season 6 months from now. And so that's what this reading is about. It's about what we can take advantage of, what this new moon is, what opportunities this new moon is creating for us that we can take advantage of. And then should we choose to invest in this thing, in this opportunity that's coming up with this new moon, what that might grow into, what that might blossom into in 6 months' time when the moon is then full in Leo, and what this blossoming, what this fruit, what that might carry in order to renew this cycle or maintain itself, or how it might change things for you after this blossoming, this flowering. With that explained, I'll now reveal the cards and I'll put them in the positions that they basically fell under. But after I show you the cards, I'll basically put them out onto a flat line so that you can see all of the cards clearly. You'll notice when I put them here in the positions that they fall under that they don't all fit neatly into this little frame here. So just so that you can see all of the cards, after I reveal them to you, you'll see me put them out flat and in a line. So for those of you who picked the New Choice Tarot with these lovely backs here, we have the Queen of Swords, representing what this new moon is creating for you to take advantage of. What you can do right now within this singular moon cycle, the next 4 weeks, for you to take advantage of this opportunity. We have the Four of Cups. What it'll look like in order to maintain this work that's being represented by the Four of Cups, in order to see a blossoming, a reward, a fruition, the sun. What this work, these efforts will result in, what these things will flower into. We have the Devil reversed, and what seeds will this blossom, this fruit carry in order for this to renew itself, retain itself, or what this will basically, what change this will create for you moving forward. The Eight of Pentacles. So, alright, give me a second and then I'll just lay these out flat. So, okay, what I am basically seeing here is the opportunity to put into practice the things that you've learned at a grander scale. So there's something that you currently know, that you've learned, that you've seen the results of already because you've kind of put into practice, and you're now ready to put this thing that you practiced at a smaller scale, you're ready to apply this thing in other places, other areas of your life, or maybe in all areas of your life, to see bigger results than what you saw at a smaller scale. So okay, the Queen of Swords, she is someone who has a mastery because she's a queen. Swords, it's going to be over the mental realm. This is someone who has a clear understanding of who they are, what they think, what they feel. They don't have a hard time defining themselves. This is again because there is a mastery over the mind, and a mastery of the mind is someone who's familiar with the mind and everything that's within it. So this is where I was getting that idea of there's something you've learned, that the opportunity for you this new moon is a Queen card. Tells me that this opportunity is only happening because of what you've learned so far, because of what lessons, what experiences you've gone through that have gained you what perspective or opportunity or position you currently have. And from here, there's this opportunity to create more with what you've learned to get yourself here in this position that you're currently in. With the next card being the Four of Cups, meaning that what you can do right now immediately to start to take advantage of what this new moon is creating for you with the Queen of Swords. The Four of Cups is a reminder to slow down in order to have, or rather to fully recognize what it is that we're feeling. The Cups cards are about emotion. And so we have the card of mental mastery, which I described as having, this complete knowledge of who you are, self-defining. Part of what defines you is how you feel. Right now, how you feel about certain things, just what's in your heart space. And the Queen of Swords next to the Four of Cups is this, I like to think of it as taking stock of your emotions. Really taking the time to slow down or stop altogether if necessary in order to fully not just feel what it is that we're feeling, but define it as well, name it, understand where it's coming from, what it is that we can do with it. That's more of the Queen of Cups energy, what we can do with our feelings. But the Queen of Swords, she wants to analyze these feelings, and there are times when it's advised that we don't try to analyze our feelings. But in this message, what these two cards are saying to me, it's not so much about analyzing your feelings so much as just knowing what it is that you're feeling, because that is what's going to help you ground what blessings this new moon is trying to create for you if you tune into it. To kind of bring this point home a little bit, it's kind of understanding where one feeling begins and the next one starts, and also differentiating between what we feel and what we think. And mind you, that knowledge it fluctuates. We can be very level-headed people, and for the most part, we can understand, this is how I feel and this is how I think. But be reminded that there can be times when we're overwhelmed, either emotionally, both, whatever the case, and if we aren't careful, that line can blur, and we can sort of misconstrue feelings as valid, concrete data for us to act upon, and then we have thoughts that are then driven by feelings, and it can get a little bit messy. So these two cards together really speaks to you having an understanding of, this is what I feel, this is how I feel it, and this is why I'm feeling it. Not because that's the end goal, not because, we need to feel our feelings. That's a whole lesson for another reading. But given for this message, in order for you to put into practice what it is that you've learned and experienced, part of growing this is applying it to how you're feeling. So maybe one of two things that could be happening here, and these are just examples for you. One thing that could be happening is there could be feelings that you aren't fully acknowledging, maybe denying for whatever reason, that you are then going to now really benefit from fully acknowledging, fully understanding, again, having a knowledge of it, an intimate knowledge of what it is, where it's coming from, why it's there. And these two moving into what it'll look like in order to take this work of understanding what it is that you're feeling and all of that. How you keep that going past this immediate moment in time, the next 4 weeks, in order to see it fully blossom, it's about allowing into your space only what honors and reflects what you're learning here in this process of identifying what you're feeling. So, okay, you'll come to realize when you tap into what it is that you're feeling. Why that's important is because you can then use that data everywhere else. So one example, you might come to the realization that one thing you're feeling that you haven't really been acknowledging is the way that you don't like this one person talks to you. And it's not that they're rude or anything, it's just that there's a certain way that they talk and you just don't like it. But for whatever reason, you kind of just put it in the back burner, you don't want to deal with it, whatever. And then as you kind of take the time to really understand what it is that you're feeling and why it's there, and you give yourself the space and time to do that, you'll, again, just a random example, you kind of realize that you don't like the way this person talks to you because it reminds you of like a school bully or something. And now you know, it's not that, you know, this person sucks, it's just that for you, you don't really want to be around that energy. You don't really want to be around this type of person. So now with that data, with that knowledge, you can move forward understanding that you operate better, feel better when you aren't around the type of person who makes you feel like that one person. And so what I see with this card of these two beings meeting each other under the glorious sunlight is about what it's saying as in regards to what it'll take for you to keep this work going and see it into some type of fruition. It's about allowing into your space, or rather welcoming into your life only what's willing to meet you where you are. And mind you, at this point you are somewhere where you are in full of acknowledgement of who it is that you are and what it is that you're feeling, an ease of self-definition. And when you can define yourself and talk about yourself, you know, emotionally and beyond, then you have a good idea of what it is that you want to welcome into your life. And that's what the sun is representing here, is in order, once you do this work of understanding yourself in order to like define yourself, you will then, that'll enable you to understand what it is that you should be, who it is that you should be allowing into your life, and who and what it is that you shouldn't be allowing into your life. And that's what the sun represents here. And so what this work, what all of this effort will basically blossom into is the devil reversed. And I love how these two cards kind of do reflect each other with two beings under another being. So like in this instance, two beings being under the sun, in this instance, two beings being under the devil, and this one being reversed. Now, the devil is a representation of anything that overpowers our will. Worst case scenario, this is an addiction. Hold on, let me drink some water because I'm feeling some. Excuse me. All right. Anything that overpowers our will. So, at its worst, it's kind of like an addiction, where this addiction, the substance, the whatever substances that addiction is about, it's the person becomes dependent upon that thing. They cannot live without the thing. And it started out as something that was supposed to help, or something that made you feel better, and over time it kind of went from something that helped to something that you absolutely need, and it completely skews your entire experience, the way that you think, the way that you feel, and your behavior, the way that you are acting. That's the worst case scenario for the devil. The best case scenario is lust, or when we are so severely attracted to someone that the way we feel about them completely overpowers and influences our actions, our behaviors, and our thoughts and feelings. You know, sometimes that can be really bad, sometimes very, you know, when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's awful. But again, that's what the devil represents. It's this idea of whatever overpowers our will to the point that it binds us to theirs. So then reversed, it's in essence a liberation. It's a freeing oneself of external influences, but really any influence that you feel might be overpowering your own. Now, rather this was reversed. What this is telling me, as what the devil reverse is saying, as the fruition of these efforts, is that in this work of understanding yourself and understanding and defining your feelings, and, you know, learning you. And on top of that, in learning how to maintain boundaries that honor this work and reflect it, and basically don't diminish it, and instead only add to this, what you're building here, what this will create for you is a liberation of, the best way I can word it is kind of like, since you didn't know how to do this before, once you learn, you'll be free of, it kind of feels like people-pleasing tendencies. Like, if that's true for you, then yeah, that's definitely, like, this is what we're talking about, this idea of boundaries and really only letting people in that really should be there. This is a lesson that, like, is given to people who aren't really good at boundaries. I speak from experience, and that's what this feels like to me. How here, this is a boundary honored, this is a boundary respected, and so this is someone who is welcomed into your space. But the devil isn't someone who respects boundaries. This is someone who, again, overpowers you and makes you forget about those boundaries. So then reversed, it's like, after you've learned how to do this, after you've maintained that boundary enough and seen how it is possible for people, places, whatever the case may be, to respect and honor those things, and more than respect and honor your boundaries, respect and honor you and your work and what you're doing, who you are. When you see that that's possible, you will no longer welcome in the things you were welcoming in before. The things that have, up until now and before you were doing this work, have been overpowering your will. Whatever that is for you. Again, I gave you two really extreme examples with addictions and lust, but again, think of anything that you feel overpowers your will, something that influences the way that you think. So like, if you don't feel like you have, if you're not in a lust, like you're not super attracted to someone that way, or if you're not under any addiction, and think about like how capitalism really permeates every aspect of our being, and colors our judgment. Think about how money, if there's too much of it, it turns people, it can corrupt. So really anything that can overpower a person and influence the way that they think, change them in a way that they start to take on the features of what they are influenced by. So like the fee and the little horns and stuff, it's this person's influence over these beings. Anything that you feel does that to you, should you put in this work and effort into defining yourself and who you are and how you feel, that's what this is going to basically blossom into for you. This knowledge of what should be welcomed into your life and what really shouldn't be. And once you know that, there's no going back. You can't put the truth back in the box. You will no longer be comfortable allowing this into your space. Once there is light and warmth, you won't allow anything vacant, antagonistic into your energy, into your space. What this will result in after this fruition, what this will basically cycle into for the next one, it's a habit now. The Eight of Pentacles is having a full understanding of, okay, best example I can give you is, when you first started your job and you went through a training process, there was a time when you yourself felt like you were training, and then there was that one day that you came into work, you clocked in, and before you realized that, you clocked out and you had done everything by yourself. You were taught correctly and you feel confident in the job now. That's what the Eight of Pentacles represents. Us having enough knowledge about our craft, our labor, in order for it to be kind of a habit, second nature now. And that's what we're talking about. All of this effort, all of this work, blossoming into an understanding of what should be welcomed into our lives, what nourishes us, what is good, and what we are really not going to have space for anymore after we understand these things. And after that, like I keep on saying, once you know the truth, it's just habit. It's just something that's going to happen naturally as kind of second nature to you. This is what is possible for you should you, again, decide to invest your energy, your time into tapping into your capacity to define, to understand yourself and your surroundings and your mental perspective on everything, and applying that, your unique perspective, your unique knowledge of you, to yourself and how you feel, and in that work defining not only yourself but again your feelings, how you're feeling, why you're feeling it, where it's coming from, where it's going, and in doing so realizing what it is that's good, what it is that makes you feel good, and what it is that makes you not feel so good. And once you realize those things, then you'll have this understanding of, I only want to let certain things, places, people, etc. into my life that honor, respect who I am, the work that I'm doing, the things that make me feel good. And once that happens, once you see that happening, that can exist, that you can maintain a boundary, and that there are things, places that will respect and honor those things, once you see that, then there will be no space, no more time for anything that overpowers your will. And by the time you figured this out, it'll just happen naturally. You won't be able to go back to a space, to a way of being that allows for things like this to come into your life and overpower you. Once you know peace, once you've felt peace you've worked for, you're not going to go back. You will work twice as hard to maintain that peace, especially once you have a deep understanding and knowledge of what it is exactly that makes you feel bad and what makes you feel good. I hope that helped. I will catch you for the next one. Bye. So whenever the moon is new, it's always going to be in the part of the sky wherever the sun is. So right now the sun is in Leo, and so the new moon will be in Leo because the moon is again in the same part of the sky that the sun is. When the moon is full, it is on the opposite side of wherever the sun is, and so it'll be in the opposite sign. The full moon that happens during Leo season will always be in Aquarius because Aquarius is the opposing sign to Leo. Now, one single moon cycle represents the time it takes for the moon to go from new, and it grows into full, and then it grows back down to a new moon to start a new cycle. But this reading is about how you can take advantage of the moon's energy in Leo, basically meaning as the moon returns back to the sign Leo as through the next few months until the moon is then full in Leo. So right now, again, during Leo season, the moon is new in Leo, but we won't see a full moon in Leo until Aquarius season 6 months from now. And so that's what this reading is about. It's about what we can take advantage of, what this new moon is, what opportunities this new moon is creating for us that we can take advantage of. And then should we choose to invest in this opportunity that's coming up with this new moon, what that might grow into, what that might blossom into in 6 months' time when the moon is then full in Leo, and what this blossoming, what this fruit, what that might carry in order to renew this cycle or maintain itself, or how it might change things for you after this blossoming, this flowering. With that explained, I'll now reveal the cards and I'll put them in the positions that they basically fell under. But after I show you the cards, I'll basically put them out onto a flat line so that you can see all of the cards clearly. You'll notice when I put them here in the positions that they fall under that they don't all fit neatly into this little frame here. So just so that you can see all of the cards, after I reveal them to you, you'll see me put them out flat and in a line. Alright. This is for those of you who chose the Yohualli Ehécatl tarot. Let's begin. For you, what the new moon in Leo is, what opportunity the new moon in Leo is creating for you. We have the 3 of Cups reversed. What you can do immediately now within the next 4 weeks in order to take advantage of what opportunities this is creating, what this opportunity is creating for you. Siwatlamakasqui, which is the High Priestess. What it'll look like in order to maintain this work and see it basically blossom into something. What work we can do to see the result. We have Waitopi, which is the Ace of Wands, and it is reversed. What this effort, what this work will blossom fruit into. We have the 9 of Swords upwards. And finally, what all of this will turn into, what it will result to after this cycle and moving, what this will basically create, moving into the new cycle, we have, oh, this one's gonna be hard. Chicawalitzli. Hold on, let me put it upwards so I can read it. Chicawalitzli, which is strength reversed. So alright, I will be right back. I'm just going to put them all in a line so that we can see them clearly. So, with the Three of Cups, now in this deck they are hearts, and so that's why they kind of, you know, they're bleeding. It's a heart, like feelings, like the vessels, like cups. Reversed. And the Three of Cups upwards is traditionally about friendship and people that we feel in harmony with. So then reversed, it's a lack of harmony with other people. This new moon in Leo is creating an opportunity for you to address where it is that you feel out of place, where it is that you feel like you don't belong. This is specifically about you in relation to other people. So yeah, it can be a work environment, you know, where people make you feel out of place. It can be a relationship with one person that makes you feel like you shouldn't be there, or you're starting to get ideas that you shouldn't be there. There might even be another person involved. This is something romantic and you guys are the opposite of polyamorous. I'm blanking, but you know what I mean. If you guys are like committed and, you know, there might be someone else involved, that's something that, you know, these cards might be picking up on. Again, this new moon is either it's creating the opportunity for you to see this clearly, or if you already see this clearly, this idea, this understanding that you don't really belong in a certain place or relationship, if you already see that, then what this new moon is creating is the opportunity for you to address it, do something about it. And whatever the case is, what you can do right now immediately in order to take advantage of what the new moon is creating for you, it's to tap into your inner knowing, to take advantage of your intuition. And if you aren't familiar with your intuition, which I doubt considering you are here for a tarot reading, it really is just about doing what feels what's most right for you, and doing it even if it feels like we're making a mistake. A lot of the times it's hard to trust our intuition and what we feel is right to us, because we've been led to believe that other people, or maybe not, I'm not going to say that, a rational approach to things is going to be wiser than one led by intuition. And yeah, there are definite times when that's true, but in this situation, in the situation where you feel like, again, you're out of place, like you don't, if you're being made to feel like you don't belong in a place in relation to other people, you need to tap into what you're being told is right and what isn't. So if before recently, you know, despite whether you were aware of this out of place, or whether or not you were fully acknowledging how you were out of place here, like maybe in the past you were making excuses here, like, oh, well, you know, I need this job, or, you know, this person's just like that, or whatever the case is. The High Priestess is saying that you need to acknowledge fully what it is that you're feeling, which is, again, you feeling out of place. You fully acknowledging, fully facing what it is that you've been turning a blind eye to, whether it's like the disrespect or the ways that they choose other people, the ways that they make you feel what it is that you're feeling. It's time to own up to that, to face it honestly, and to address it, to sit comfortably with these things that you know within you. The High Priestess is a keeper of secrets, a keeper of intimate knowledge, whether, you know, it's like sacred secrets, like, I don't know, religious secrets, which is why usually the High Priestess is shown with religious artifacts and as a religious leader, right? High Priestess. She's, again, this keeper of secrets, but on a more mundane level, the High Priestess represents the deep and intimate knowledge that we carry about whatever we have it. So if I'm a mechanic and I've been a mechanic for 60 years and I can put cars together, you know, with my eyes blindfolded, I have a High Priestess level knowledge of mechanics, because again, it's something I have a deep and intimate knowledge about. It can be a deep and intimate knowledge about ourselves, and in this case, it's a deep and intimate knowledge about these feelings that we've been having, again, which acknowledge the ways in which we are out of place. So facing that full on. If this is something where, well, rather, not if, but whatever the case is, whether you've been aware of this and now it's time to do something about it, or if you haven't been aware of it and now you're starting to see it, the advice right now immediately is to tap into your inner knowing. That will guide you towards whatever you need to do next. And what the cards are saying in respects to what you should be doing next is a complete denial of your current desire. So, current desire being represented by the Ace of Wands, the reversal, the denial. And in the position, since this card is falling in the position of what it'll look like in order for us to maintain this work, in order to see it blossom and fruit into something, the denial of desire speaks to the desire to maintain this thing. So back to the example of, if it's like a work thing, the denial of a desire to stay here for whatever reason, like maybe they pay really good, or it's just a convenient location, there's something about it that like it strikes something you desire, but you are being told, you are receiving intimate knowledge that this is not somewhere you belong, and so you need to actively act against what it is that you desire, which is again this inherent, whatever it is that it's keeping you here. If this is a relationship, like whether it's a friendship or something romantic, then this is representing a denial of the lust, of the desire to go and patch things up, the desire for this person, if that's romantic. If it's platonic, then just the desire that you have to be around these people. Whatever the case is, what this speaks to, how we negate a desire, is usually with rationality. And that's definitely echoed by the next card here being a swords card. But before I get to that, okay, if it's like if it's an employment thing, rationalizing why it's better for you to leave this behind, tapping into that knowledge, and then using that data to overpower that desire, basically like dousing that desire with reality and hard facts. If it's a relationship, then it's really about, blocking the numbers, deleting anything racy, so that you literally have to cut yourself off when your feelings, your desire is mixed in with someone, and then especially if it's with someone, that somewhere you don't belong. And chances are, if you are willing to stay somewhere you're starting to know, or you don't belong, and chances are you have been operating solely off of desire. And so in order to address that, in order to fix that, you need to then, one, acknowledge how your desire plays such a central key role in everything that we're talking about, but then also dousing that desire, nipping it in the bud, so to speak, acting in ways that reflect and honor your denying of those desires. So again, if you're the type of person who's like naturally wants to fix things with other people, fighting that desire because it's not going to serve you here. If you are the type of person who's just willing to turn the other cheek because of the paycheck, it's like, nah, you have to like look against that now. And before I continue, I just want to say that this is all hard work. It is not easy to... You're obviously struggling with it. If like that she's coming up and that you need to tap into this level of intimate knowledge tells me surface level knowledge, mundane messages to you aren't getting through to you. You've probably been receiving messages like either advice from people who hear you talk about this experience, or just, I don't know, you're getting information at a surface level that isn't hitting you. And so now it's going to take for some getting in deep into your own knowledge for you to understand what's being told to you, which is, again, you need to acknowledge the spaces you don't belong in. And in order to combat that, dousing the desire that keeps you there. Now, should you stick to this? Should you, go however long you need to, talking yourself down from this desire in order to douse it properly? What that's going to open the door for is the floodgates. Basically, everything you've been denying up until now about all of this. Once that's no longer there to distract you, and once that desire is weakened enough for it not to influence you, you will be able to face how you actually truly deeply feel about all of this. This deep knowledge, I say she, but I'm referring to your deep intimate knowledge of yourself. That's what's guiding you out of this mess. But what it's guiding you towards is a complete embracing of this knowledge, an embracing of everything that it is that you feel. And yeah, in this card, it's the Nine of Swords is traditionally a card of anxieties, and sure, yeah, that's definitely a possibility for you. Chances are you'll be able to think back rational once the desire is weakened. We lose the rose-colored glasses and we can see things for what they really were. And once that happens, once we're no longer looking at things through our rose-colored glasses, the truth can get a little ugly, and it can get overwhelming. It can be something that keeps us up at night, something that we continue to try to deny and push away. But the thing is, no more. There's no more of that. The point of what this work is all about is about you no longer denying what it is that you really know and feel. What this work and effort will blossom into is you basically no longer being able to deny, to jump around, to perform the mental acrobatics that you've been performing in order to stay where you really shouldn't. Once you open that floodgate of tapping into what you feel and know, there's no stopping it. You won't be able to go back. And although, yeah, it looks really scary here and it might sound scary, that is relief. And that is what strength reversed is saying. Strength upwards is effort. It's us. I mean, generally, traditionally, strength shows a figure overpowering something animalistic, something kind of like a beast. And that beast is meant to represent our inner turmoil, our inner passion. It can represent a whole bunch of things. But then reversed, it's that strain, that the effort put into holding this thing down, or whatever. In this card, yeah, it's holding it down. That effort we no longer have to do that. It's a releasing of the tension. It's like after we've been, after all of this work and we've, been struggling to address where we don't belong, which is hard work. Tap into this deep, intimate knowledge of ourselves. That's hard work. Dousing our very real fire, our very real desire for something, negating it. That's hard work. Facing the scary things that we've been negating for a long time. Facing the wave of that floodgate. That's hard work. After all of this, though, after all of that effort and strain to hold it all together and basically hold yourself down, so to speak, relief. You'll be able to release. Kind of like, here it's holding it down, reverse, then it's like you're able to free it. You're able to release it. It's no longer holding you. This is no longer a trial for you to go through. This beast that you've been fighting, it's released. You can let it go now. This is no longer your problem. It's no longer hurting you the way that it used to, because you've now dealt with it. You've now, after all of this, and this is basically the process of okay, I understand that something's wrong. Or rather, the situation that's wrong. I understand that something's wrong. I am actively doing things to negate that thing that's wrong for me. And now that I've put that behind me, I now do the work of facing and feeling everything that I felt about all of that. And once all of that cycles, well, then it's over. Then you get to release it. You get to move on and start something new. It's real. Oops. Usually the strength card reversed can like speak to weakness or us not making proper use of our strength. But in this case, at the end of all of this strain, strength reversed is then like, I keep on picturing like a weight builder, a bodybuilder, a bodybuilder, you know, doing the lifting that thing that they lift, and then after he's done his reps, they've done their reps, they like toss it on the ground, they release, they like, they have like that huge like, oh, I feel so good because I did that. And now they get, you know, sure, maybe they have another workout in this situation, but whatever. After that, you've done your reps and you're done, you get to release the tension. You get to, after making great use of your strength, you get to now rest it and rest yourself. So hard stuff, hard work, and honestly, like, we can't be judged or anything for like not wanting to tap into this, because it is hard. Life is tough enough, and sometimes it is easier for us to maintain these things even if it gains us whatever little it gains us. What these cards are saying though is that somewhere deep down you are starting to understand how it is, where it is that you don't belong. What this reading is saying is that should you choose to put the effort in the right place and stop putting it in the wrong place, and you do the hard work of acknowledging, facing everything that you've been denying up until now, you will have relief eventually after all of this work. And it's going to be hard work, yeah. And you know, just because it's hard work doesn't mean that every day is going to be awful. Like, the point of all of this is to end all of this torment and eventually find relief. And there will be days of relief. It won't all be, it's not going to be like the next 1,000 days is going to suck until you feel better. No, but the point of doing all of this is so that, again, eventually you have the sense of relief that this is no longer your problem, but there will be relief in just the work of moving away from this. So again, what all of this is resulting in is relief. I hope that helped. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. So whenever the moon is new, it's always going to be in the part of the sky wherever the sun is. So right now the sun is in Leo, and so the new moon will be in Leo because the moon is again in the same part of the sky that the sun is. When the moon is full, it is on the opposite side of wherever the sun is, and so it'll be in the opposite sign. The full moon that happens during Leo season will always be in Aquarius, because Aquarius is the opposing sign to Leo. Now, one single moon cycle represents the time it takes for the moon to go from new, and it grows into full, and then it grows back down to a new moon to start a new cycle. But this reading is about how you can take advantage of the moon's energy in Leo, basically meaning as the moon returns back to the sign Leo as through the next few months until the moon is then full in Leo. So right now, again, during Leo season, the moon is new in Leo, but we won't see a full moon in Leo until Aquarius season 6 months from now. And so that's what this reading is about. It's about what we can take advantage of, what this new moon is, what opportunities this new moon is creating for us that we can take advantage of. And then should we choose to invest in this thing, in this opportunity that's coming up with this new moon, what that might grow into, what that might blossom into in 6 months' time when the moon is then full in Leo, and what this blossoming, what this fruit, what that might carry in order to renew this cycle or maintain itself, or how it might change things for you after this blossoming, this flowering. With that explained, I'll now reveal the cards and I'll put them in the positions that they basically fell under. But after I show you the cards, I'll basically put them out onto a flat line so that you can see all of the cards clearly. You'll notice when I put them here in the positions that they fall under that they don't all fit neatly into this little frame here. So just so that you can see all of the cards, after I reveal them to you, you'll see me put them out flat and in a line. Alright, so for those of you who picked the Fyodor Pavlov tarot, we have what is beginning for you at the new moon in Leo. We have the Two of Wands reversed. What you can do immediately to take advantage of what this new moon is creating for you, we have the Page of Cups reversed. What it'll look like to keep this effort going in order to see a result, we have the Ace of Wands. What this will blossom into, what fruit this will create, is the Five of Wands. And finally, what all of this will result into as you move into a new cycle, we have Temperance reversed. Alright, 1 second, I'm going to put these in a line and we'll get started on your reading. Alright, so the Two of Wands is a card that shows us planning for something. The wands are about our passion, our motivations, our drive. And so this is something that excites us, something that we feel driven about, something we're excited, passionate about, that we're willing to put some planning into in order to see it happen. Reversed then is a failure either to make adequate plans for what it is that you're trying to get. And if it's not that, if we're not talking about a plan that isn't adequate, or rather, there it is. So we're either talking about you not putting an adequate amount of planning for what you want to do, or the plan itself that you have not being adequate enough. So either not enough planning, or the plan that you do have isn't enough. It's not working. And that's what the new moon in Leo is basically bringing to your attention. And if this is something that you already have had in your attention, then what the new moon is bringing for you is the chance to do something about it. What you should be doing in order to address this directly is facing the ways in which you're afraid or hesitant to address or accept or face what's in your heart space. The Page of Cups is a being who is excited to tune into whatever they're feeling, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness, disgust. They don't hesitate to feel what they're feeling because they use whatever they're feeling towards, in this case, their art. This is an artist, and so she's ready to tap into her heart space for inspiration in order to be able to do the work that she does. Reversed then, there's that hesitation, that fear almost of what is in our heart space. So if you are the type of person who just generally does struggle with tapping into what's in your heart space, then what you're being told here is that fear is in direct opposition to your planning here, what it is that you're trying to create and make for yourself. That fear stands in the way of that. And if you are someone who's more aware of what's in their heart space, if you're someone who does know how to tune in and address what's in your heart space, then in this instance there is something that you are hesitant to feel, or having a harder time, if not identifying, then sitting with and just processing. Whatever the case is, why your plans aren't working, or why you might be having a hard time even making a plan, is because of some fear attached to either this planning or the thing that you're planning for. So you might be feeling like what you're trying to plan for might be a little too big for you, or you're afraid of the disappointment that might be caused if you don't get what you want. There might even be an instance of like you being afraid of how much work there is to be done in regards to what you want to do, and that itself, the amount of work that you've kind of laid out in your head, might be overwhelming you and kind of leaving you a little too afraid to do this work. And that is reflected, that idea of there being too much and you needing to do less is reflected by the Ace of Wands being in the position of what it'll look like to take this work, these efforts, and maintain it in order to turn it into a result. And the Ace of Wands, in response to the Two of Wands reversed, tells me, one, that we're moving from 2 to 1. And the 2 is reversed, which means that isn't working, but the 1, which is a smaller number, is working. And so again, that idea of stripping down, like maybe you're hesitating to plan because in your mind, like if this is about working out, like you want to work out, and in your mind you're struggling, not your mind, but you are struggling to create a plan for it, because you get overwhelmed by thinking like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to work out every day and I have to change my entire lifestyle. And when the reality is, it's not about working out every single day as you think. It's about first building the habit and then going from there. So you might, and to keep this example going, want to move from like, oh, working out every day, which is obviously too much and that's why you're not doing it, to let me work out just like twice, maybe just once a week, have fun with it, and then eventually develop a, not like, you don't have to love it, but grow to not hate it, to the point where it's now doable. So moving from a place where like in your mind you think you have to do all of this stuff, when in reality what's really going to work is something simpler. And in doing that and stripping down to something simpler, and maybe it's not about stripping down in a sense of doing less. Maybe it's about like you're overthinking it. Like maybe not overthinking it, but maybe you've lost sight of the reason that you're doing this. Like the Ace of Wands, the core root, the single wand itself, the concentrated wand energy, it's upwards, and it's because you know what this is, that you know what why it excites you, why you love this thing that you're trying to pursue and create something out of. And once you get to the next step from 1 to 2, where it's about planning and doing something towards it, that's where you get a little overwhelmed. And it might be that the planning aspect, the technical part of it, might be turning you off. And so what you might need to be the advice here as to what you should be doing is getting back to basics, going back from this step of like, oh, all this planning and technical stuff, and getting back to this basic energy of why it is that you're doing this in the first place. So again, the Ace of Wands can be either both of these things or just one of these things. Either A, talking about doing less, things working when you're doing less than what you initially thought you'd have to do, like the example of like working out once a week as opposed to once a day. Or it's talking about getting back to basics, where you might be overwhelmed with the technical aspects, the steps that follow the excitement, and you might need to remind yourself of that excitement before you can move forward. And what these efforts, what all of this work will basically blossom into, we move from the Ace, from the 1 of Wands, and we now go into the 5. Now, the 5 of Wands tells me two things. One, an increase of what this Ace is. So where 2 was a failure, it wasn't a successful movement towards like growing this. Once you've addressed why that isn't working, once you've stopped being hesitant, afraid of what's in your heart space, once you deal with that, and once you address this either stripping back or getting back to basics of what it is that you're excited about, that's what's going to increase, that's what's going to fuel this fire and grow it the way that you intended from the beginning. So pretty simple, right? Address what's wrong and you'll get the result. But what this is also telling me, especially with Temperance reversed as the ending card, is that you need to be careful that when you succeed, when you find success, when this thing that you're trying to make happen starts to happen for you, you need to be careful that you don't allow your own, I'm going to call it ego, get in the way of that. And why I'm saying that is because the 5 of Wands, if you're honing and perfecting your wand, the 5 of Wands represents you coming with your perfected wand to a group setting where other people have perfected wands as well. So it's a matching of energy. And one of the things that this card tells me, besides the increase of energy from Ace to 5, is this idea that when you get good at this thing, so to keep the example of working out. If you start working out after like a couple of years, this is going to be like a habit, and you're going to, look good or feel good or whatever the case is, and you're going to encounter other people who also have an active lifestyle. And you might fall into the trap of comparison, of comparing your wand, what you've been working on, to the other people and their wands. And that can be very detrimental to all of this work if you aren't careful. And that's why this is coming up reversed. If you aren't careful, if you aren't maintaining proper balance of all of these things, you might negate all of this work with that comparison. So it's like, if you aren't careful and if you aren't doing this for the right reasons, if during this comparison phase of all of this, someone tells you the wrong thing about like one part of your body, if you aren't careful, that one comment is going to land you in the gym like once a week now, working on that one body part because of those insecurities. Kind of a weird example, but another way to think about it is, we've been I know I said like a couple of years earlier, but like, let's say we're going on this workout journey. We've been doing it for like 1 year. And after 1 year, we feel great. We've been doing this and we feel really good because we're somewhere more successful than where we were when we started. And at this 1 year mark, you meet someone who's been working out for 3, 4, 5 years, and their body looks fantastic. Their energy's on another level, and they talk about working out in terms that like you still kind of struggle with. And if you aren't careful, that interaction, instead of inspiring you the way that it should, might make you feel incapable or insufficient. And that's just not true, because you guys are in different spaces. Like this person's been working out for longer than you. They have more experience. And even if, let's say, you guys have been working for the same amount of time, but they just get it more, that's fine. That's something that naturally happens. Some people are more naturally inclined towards other things, but that shouldn't negate our own efforts towards it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try. We obviously have been able to get somewhere from nothing. So the message here is, these efforts, more than showing you how to successfully grow and fuel something, it's about what it means to hold this thing that you've honed and perfected and compare it without letting that be detrimental to you and the work that you've put in. And finally, being really careful, understanding that with all of this, what we're meant to learn is how fragile we can really be if we aren't careful. Even if we've done all of this for the right reasons, if once we're here we aren't careful, if once we're here we don't maintain this tuning in and not being afraid of what's in our heart space and addressing what isn't working, if we don't maintain that, then when the comparison comes, we'll be thrown out of balance. So be mindful of that as you are putting in this work and honing in what it is that you've been called to hone in on. Understand that you're being taught more than this skill you're learning. You're being taught more than what it means to be successful in this. You're being taught more than what it means to be in comparison with other people with this thing that you're perfecting. It is about all of that, and also what it means to maintain your balance, yourself, your integrity, and the integrity of your work through all of this and beyond it. I hope that helped. I'll catch you on the next one.